Hey, hip, 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 hooray. Our warrior energy Mars, our individual purpose, how we act on our individual purpose, Mars goes direct today, Sunday, February 23rd. And he's been in retrograde motion since December 6th. And he went back from Leo back into Cancer in January. And he won't return to Leo until April 15th. 16th, 17th, somewhere in there. Just think tax day in there, and then you'll be around the time that he's moving from the two most personal signs of the zodiac. Yes, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. Those four signs are the personal orientation, where the ego flowers, and Mars being the ruler of Aries, he basically gives us that impulse to act. An impulse can be against conditions, it can be, oppositional defiance disorder, but impulse can also be just the spontaneous innocence of feeling this inner motion. And so when our warrior for our Aries people, you may have been less energy, feeling a sense of WTF or WTH, or just going to sleep earlier. And since he retrograded in Leo, where you want to flower and show off the personality that's been developed from Aries to Cancer, you Aries people may be rethinking projects or rethinking remorse, regret, basically about impulses taken or compulsion to just show your individualism no matter what. Stirring it up a la Bob Marley, when in reality it's internal that you need to check your motivations and impulses at the door. And then your corresponding sign sitting across the cosmos from you, Libra, this energy of Cancer and Leo retrograde Mars has been about your placement, your reputation. So if there's been some friendships, some goals, some dreams that you've been rethinking, Libra, and your networking opportunities haven't come to fruition because your charm hasn't worked as much, then recognize that if you're seeing relationships as transactional, you give as good as you get. And if you can just Libra, this is for everyone, but definitely Libra, if you can remember that like attracts like. So if you're giving freely from your heart, yes, because Cancer Leo can be really challenging to your objectivity, Libra. And so, and then with Venus about to go retrograde on March the 1st, yeah, we got some stuff to talk about, you Venusian sign of the scales. And then after the Aries energy, we go to Taurus. And I'm going to talk about this in complementary energies, who is farthest apart in the cosmos or in the galaxy, Taurus and Scorpio. I have and I desire or I create. And so Taurus with the retrograde Mars in Cancer can really suggest that aspect of having a lot of ideas, having just, full of multiple ideas, because Taurus, you're the king and queen and prince and princess of the side hustle. You were side hustling even before we even had a name for it, because there is a side of you that's constantly seeking value. Because your key phrase is I have. And so the retrograde Mars from Leo back into Cancer can be your foundations have been shaky, or you're reevaluating what is truly valuable. And again, your ruler is going to go retrograde on March the 1st. So you've got a Venus thing happening in the next 6 or 7 weeks. So I suggest to all Taurus people, give yourself a couple weeks after your birthday, after the end of your season. Just put a star on May 24th when Saturn moves into Aries to really put in the new beginnings of integrating all of these dimensional ideas that have been streaming for you, Taurus, and conversely, Scorpio. Whereas the Leo Cancer energy, you are a master, or at least you're learning to be a master of how to hold your own counsel, how to really understand what you receive from family and from ancestors and from genetic lineages, all that Cancer ethical tribal stuff. And you're here to take all of that. Scorpio, and put it into your interpersonal relationships. So what the retrograde did for you, yes, the same energetic piece, but you are brooding Aries energy, and a retrograde energy can get you really deeply attuned to your internal roots and contemplation. So this retrograde may have been not necessarily easy, but at least you can say, aha, now you realize what I go through, that I act and I rethink and I reanalyze my actions. And so by the time his happy warrior self gets back to Leo in mid-April, and then by the time he starts to cover new ground in Taurus season around May 4th, 5th, 6th, Scorpio, you may be primed to really get the best out of all of your relationships. And I'm hearing my homegirl, Anita Baker, giving you the best that I've got. But you also are able to receive too. So take control freak out of your vocabulary. Okay, Scorpio? Gemini Sag, that's the inspirational and reason axis. So Gemini with Mars retrograding in next door Cancer and then your sibling sign of Leo. And you with your flexible mind, Gemini, you can kind of utilize Leo's captivating presence to your own advantage. But that Cancer slowdown in Mars, you maybe just really start to doubt your ability to increase income, to align with your sense of value. And so, Gemini, these last 80 days you may have been not as confident as usual about how you speak your realities, and we can sense your doubt. So that's why my passion project with Tavish Carter, our raw material, you can go to that channel, do your values and ideals list, pillar 7, do pillar 3, which is food and nourishing, and pillar 11 is aligning with ideals. Because you need to reset your mind, Gemini. And then by the time he gets into Leo on April 17th, 18th, and there, you may find yourself ready to put your foot on the gas, metaphorically speaking, and just give it 2 to 3 weeks. Give it until around your birthday, Gemini, to really put all those ideas into practice and like attracts like, and attract the people that are aligned with you in authentic intelligence and heart-centered self. Sagittarius, you and Cancer do have a common energy in terms of nurturing and bringing people in as so like Jupiter with its multiple moons, even though Cancer's ruled by the moon. But once Cancer people and this Mars retrograde does bring in the more introverted side of Mars. So the Mars in Cancer for you, anyway, was about you showing your vulnerability, or at least admitting your vulnerabilities to yourself. Turtle medicine all over the place. You carry your home where you are, Sag, right? And then in Leo, maybe too much of a good thing. Fire planet in a fire sign, and you're an identity fire building. I see the possibilities, and too much, many more. And God, and there might be melancholy based on the fact that you don't. There are 24 hours in a day and 168 hours in a week, and you're like, damn, I want to transcend these limitations. And Mars retrograde since December 6th may have reminded you that the physical world has sometimes the last say regarding your spirit. And all fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sag, while you're building an identity, it's also manifesting how that identity affects others. Yeah. And with Jupiter, Sag being in Gemini, as far away from you as you can be, it gives you a good ability to see where your overextension, skipping steps even, can come off as entitlement and privilege. Cancer, Capricorn. With Cancer, your key phrase is I feel. And with Mars being either in your home sign or the next door sign of Leo, well, you tend to take things personally anyway. Okay, so let's go there. And you are supposed to. But the trick is to say, okay, to sift through or to do your crab sideways move and look at the flow of energy or the vibe and the ondas that go behind you or beyond or behind you. And you're like, that's not mine. Or I'm not taking ownership of that. Because your Cancer Capricorn is about responsibility. So knowing what's yours and what isn't. And with it being in your sign for so long and has been since around Labor Day or a little bit before and going and is in it now until April 17th. Cancerians, it's important that you allow yourself to heat up, to really feel passionate about it over an extended period of time. So when you make spontaneous moves, it's based on your feelings, not on a reaction or not on, well, this is what, because you can simmer with resentment when you feel that you're not being heard, or you're thinking that everyone else is as sensitive as you are, and some of us just aren't. And then Capricorn, it is said that Mars is exalted or gets its power from Capricorn. And it does when you think of the patriarchal structures that we have around passion and sex and self direction, all Mars energy. And so we want to Saturn it, repress it, let's use it for our own benefit. Thinking about the NCAA with the student athletes, you're taking this beautiful energy in late teens and early 20s, and you're saying, well, you can't go out and make money on this, okay, that's a rant. But anyway, Capricorn energy with Mars being in your opposite sign or the one off to the side with Leo, it can suggest that these last several months have been about you just softening or at least starting with your vulnerability in those conversations where feelings matter, and not waiting and reacting or waiting for the other person to bring stuff up. Capricorn, if you don't remember anything else from this video, if something's missing in your closest relationships and you're the one recognizing it, it's on you to speak up. The beautiful thing about Cancer and Leo energy and the fact that we have these 8 months of really studying the most personal part of the zodiac is that we all get to take personal ownership of our feelings and how we show up on the world stage. Because Cancer's ruled by the moon and Leo's ruled by the sun. So the warrior energy going through this most personal side of the zodiac is teaching us all how to begin with our feelings, and nobody dies from hurt feelings. Okay? Then we've got the individual effort and community effort axis with Leo and Aquarius. With Leo, with Mars dallying between your first house of presentation and Cancer, your 12th house of how you surrendered, it's been all about the innocence. Innocence in terms of forgiving those who stepped on your foot or forgiving those who just didn't give you the type of respect, RESPECT. And if you haven't heard the Otis Redding original version of that song that the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, made popular, do yourself a favor. Also, along with try a little tenderness. And that goes for Leo and Aquarius. Because the Leo energy with the retrograde Mars being in your sign in Cancer, yes, in a sense, but the when it returns to Leo on the 17th, 18th of April, it gives you a second opportunity, Leo, to realign certain things that went out of phase in November and December. So from about election to about New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day or so, look at some of the missteps you made in your closest relationships. Maybe getting puffed up when you needed to deconstruct the ego and come from the heart. It's a Tao Te Ching that says the daily diminishing of the ego. I call it deconstructing the ego, but and then Aquarius with Mars being retrograde motion in Cancer, because see, Cancer does the emotional jitsu with you, Aquarius, in the sense that when you're all lofty and intellectual and yet bright as fuck, right? Cancer remembers that your dog's name is Blue or your dog's name. Cancer remembers all of those personal stories. And as the water bearer, Cancer speaks to that emotional memory that you contain, sometimes hide from yourself or disassociate from. Well, retrograde Mars in Cancer and Leo wouldn't allow you that, because whatever you've disassociated from or separated and compartmentalized, you meet outside yourself. So know that once he returns to Leo, April 17th and 18th, you have an excellent opportunity, Aquarius star child, to enter into, initiate, or at least create an open space in your heart for those more difficult conversations where I, the personal pronoun I, is not a bad word. Lastly, and certainly not least, is what I call the Mary Martha part of the zodiac. Virgo being Martha, conscientiously doing housework, and Pisces being Mary. Well, both Marys, because it can be the Mary that recognizes spiritual truths and the treasures that were coming through the Christ consciousness, but it can also be the Mary, the Mother Mary. I get that more with Virgo, but the Mary Magdalene, where Pisces recognizes we all have sinned. And so there's forgiveness going on. And the retrograde Mars motion in Cancer for the Virgo side of this axis is all about the realignment with your deeper and higher and more inclusive ideals. And that means that as you change your frequency and your focus and trusting the perfection of the process of your manifestation, Virgo, the perfection of the process of the way you want to manifest your service to others humbly, as that frequency shifted, Virgo. Yep, some people didn't make the cut. Let's imagine that you're a rhinoceros and these people were like the parasitic tootsie fly or whatever that has this symbiotic relationship with the rhinoceros or any kind of parasitic relationship. Also, I saw a barnacle on a ship. You're like, I'm barnacle free. No guilt, no shame about it. And if you still have that's where you attract the Pisces people in your life, because they'll listen and they will give you, if they don't give you advice, they will model living guilt and shame free. Because this retrograde Mars for you Pisces people allowed you to swim in purer waters, allowed you to have fun and play, particularly if there was an old flame that swam back into your life, or you regenerated a current relationship. Because what Cancer and Leo energy does for you Pisces is remember that it's okay to just enjoy pleasure and a little bit of pain with some safe words, of course. But know this, Pisces, the way in which you begin with forgiving yourself and having compassion and absolute self care and self love, you become this emanation. You become this beautiful role model about how we can all live together on this blue green jewel of a planet. All right. uh Put comments in this, you can you can comment, and I'm doing a personal healing profile on your Chinese animal, its element, and your sun sign, calling it my East meets West uh big three. All right, so thank you for listening.